Got to play a little Pokemon Go. Got to catch them all, everybody. You know. All right, hold on. Was that awkward? Got a little distracted there for a second. We tend to do that in society, don't we? We easily get distracted. Now, I know, actually, speaking of Pokemon Go, I know I'm a little late to the Pokemon Go party. This is kind of a game that took the world by storm maybe 3 years ago, but my son Jack loves, he's obsessed with Pokemon Go. So much so that at our house, he'll steal my cell phone when I'm not looking, all right? And he knows that my face unlocks the phone. He doesn't know the password, but he knows my face does. And so he turns into, like, first of all, a thief because he steals my phone. Then he turns into like a hacker ninja spy. He'll like come out of nowhere with my phone. He'll like try to angle it at my face without me looking at, like knowing that I'm looking at it. He'll get it to unlock and then he'll walk away and he'll start playing on my phone. I'm like, what happened to my kid? My phone has corrupted him. It's turned him into a dark soul. It freaks me out. Did you know Pokemon Go, just a segue here for a second on this, camp out, 500 million downloads in its first 3 months, a free game, $207 million that it made from a free game, 45 million daily users. So many people were using this game when it first came out that politicians during important meetings were found playing the game. It was so popular that PETA, you know, the animal rights organization, they decided to release a statement, true story, that said catching Pokemon is animal abuse. Okay? So they released a statement. And so with Pokemon Go came a lot of distracted people walking into things and unfortunately crashing into things. So now the game will warn you to not drive and play. There were signs on the road saying don't play Pokemon Go as you drive. Just last month, a cop in Washington saw a guy playing Pokemon Go on 8 phones as he was just, on the side of the road here. He's got nothing on this guy in Taiwan. There's a guy in Taiwan who plays on 30 phones. I don't know if he's my hero or I have no idea. That is amazing, right? But here's what's fascinating. So there were 2 economists from Purdue University. And so they decided to do a study on the effects of Pokemon Go on our society. And so they looked at one county in Indiana, Tippecanoe County, all right, one county, and they found after 5 months of the game's release, Pokemon Go was responsible for 134 crashes, 31 injuries, $498,000 in damages, and tragically, 2 deaths. 2 deaths. The 2 researchers from Purdue felt like they used the most conservative assumptions to gather their data. So they were being extremely conservative. And so if you extrapolate the data and just play it out over the entire United States, Pokemon Go in those 5 months was responsible for about 150,000 traffic accidents, 256 deaths. Well, that's crazy, right? That a game on our phone would distract people so much from what was important or what they should be doing that it would cost their lives. So here's the fallout of being distracted by just one thing, one game. But think of all of the distractions that come every single day, every single week, all of the things from money issues to drama to relational issues to spiritual issues to emotional issues, right? All of the noise, all of the clutter, all of the messiness, all of these things that distract us. And the danger is a world full of distractions, everything all around us. The danger with all of these is they may be keeping us from living our best life. They may be keeping us from living the life that God has for us. There's a very famous Christian adage. It's been circling around the church for many of years. It says, if the enemy can't destroy you, he will distract you. And the truth is, if he distracts you, maybe you'll just end up destroying yourself. Because if you're distracted from your core mission, from your calling, from your purpose, from your family, from relationships that matter, if you're really distracted, then you may end up running yourself right off the road in life. And if you ever notice that right when you're in the middle of doing something good, right when you're in the middle of a season of maybe spiritual growth, right in the middle when you're in the season of spiritual progress, right in the middle where you've kind of drawn a line in the sand and you said, I'm going to do something, I'm going to make a difference, this is when all these distractions start to come, right? We kind of talked about this a little bit last week. We talked about opposition, and opposition is always a sign that you're on the right track. Opposition is always a sign that you're doing the right thing, that the enemy will come at that middle road time when you're doing the right thing to try to stop you from your progress. And one of his key tactics is distraction. So it shouldn't surprise you now that you're living with some intentionality, now that you're coming to church every single week, now that you're growing, that all of a sudden maybe you've got car problems, relational problems. There's drama in some family situations that are just really distracting you. And you're wondering, where did all of these come from? Why is this happening now? Sickness, whatever it is. These are distractions. These are things that are trying to pull you away from what God has got intended for you, for your purpose, for you making maximum impact. And so you have to fight. Maybe harder now in today's culture and society. You got to fight harder now to reduce the distractions and eliminate the noise, to keep your eyes on what's truly important. So we're in this series, and we're wrapping it up today, on the book of Nehemiah. It's been called Blueprints. And what we've kind of learned about as we have looked at the life of Nehemiah is this was a guy who had a broken heart. He heard some news about the motherland, Jerusalem, his home city, where his people were from. He heard some news that the city was a disgrace, that the walls were down, and it broke his heart, and he had to do something about it. And so he goes to the king, and he says, "King, can I go back and rebuild the walls of my city?" The king says, "Go," and he goes back, and he starts to rebuild the walls. But as he's in the midst of rebuilding the walls, obstacles come. And so he has to remember the Lord, and he has to fight, and he rallies the people. And you see over the last 3 weeks that through planning and through prayer and through passion, he was able to just do amazing things for God. And if you haven't been here the last 3 weeks, let me encourage you to go back and listen to the 3 weeks on the app or online to get caught up. And what we're going to see today is that no matter what distractions came Nehemiah's way, he wouldn't let them sidetrack him from doing the thing that God called him to do, from accomplishing his purpose and accomplishing his mission. So we're going to be in Nehemiah chapter 6 today, and I'm going to start with verse 1. Sanballat and Tobiah, we talked about these guys last week. These are the bad guys in the narrative, okay? And Geshem, this is kind of a new character, but he also is a bad guy. So Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies found out that I had finished rebuilding the wall and that no gaps remained, though we had not yet set up the doors and the gates. So Sanballat and Geshem sent a message asking me to meet them at one of the villages in the plain of Ono. But I realized they were plotting to harm me. So let's stop here for a second. So the walls are done. They've built the walls, but there's one thing that kind of remains. The walls don't have doors. Well, a wall with no doors is like a Cubs season without the playoffs. Guys, what happened to our Cubs? You want to talk about just complete collapse, death, destruction, distraction, whatever it is. I almost can't preach now. I got to go and I'm in mourning right now because of what's happening to the Cubs. But we've got our Bears. Victory over the Vikings today. It's coming. I believe. I have faith like a mustard seed. It's going to grow into a tree, a mighty oak tree of a Super Bowl victory. Okay, I'm done. Okay. Woo! So, anyways, they're in the midst of building the walls, all right? And his enemy sends a message before they can hang the doors. The enemies are like, okay, we got to do something. We got to try to prevent this from happening. So they come up with this plot. Let's meet. Let's talk. Let's talk. Death by talking, death by meeting, right? Let's get together. Let's have a little conversation. Now, on the surface, this could seem like a good thing. Let's get a latte. Let's talk about our differences. Hey, we've had some differences. Let's clear the air. But Nehemiah, he wasn't about to get played by these fools, right? He knew what was up. He knew what was going on. And so the first clue that maybe he knew that they were up to no good is they asked to have a meeting in Oh No. You don't meet your enemies in Oh No. That's just kind of a rule of thumb. Throw that out there. So he's like, oh no, this is a trap. He knew that they wanted to pull like a Jimmy Hoffa type, like swim with the fishes type mafia move. He would have been buried in the wall if he went and met with these guys. And this is because he understood a very simple principle, that not only will the enemy try to distract us, but the closer you get to the end of your good work, the closer you get to the end of accomplishing your goal, the closer you get to the end of your purpose, the harder and the more determined your enemy will get to try to distract you. And have you ever noticed that it is always the end of the goal that's the hardest? Like, you've worked hard to lose a ton of weight, right? You've been working out, you've been dieting, and it's that last 5 pounds, that last 10 pounds, it's hard. And then you go to Woodman's, and you see that it's buy one, get 1,000 free of Oreos. And you're like, I can't afford not to buy these, right? And so then you buy them, and then all of a sudden you're like weeping as you're eating a ton of Oreos. Why did I do this, right? You find yourself getting distracted, and you run the risk of undoing a lot of good, sometimes with one bad decision. That's what's crazy about distractions, is one bad decision can take us off the rails of where God has us going, what God's intention is for our life. And here's just what's simply true in life. It isn't always just how you start, but it's how you finish, right? And if you finish poorly, sadly, many times that's how you're going to be remembered. I mean, think about Nehemiah. If Nehemiah would have met with these guys and then ended up buried in the wall he was trying to build, this whole book in the Bible would play out so differently, wouldn't it? We would look at this so differently. It wouldn't be a book on passion and leadership and God's provision. It'd be a tragedy about not finishing well, taking your eyes off the prize, getting distracted. And the reality is, all of us, if we were to sit here and think about it, we can all think of someone, maybe a pastor, business leader, because no one's immune, who took their eyes off the prize, who were running a good race. They were fighting a good fight. They were on a good path, and they got distracted, and they didn't finish so well. And that's not how we remember them, is because of whatever happened. I mean, just this week, I was watching a leadership video from a pastor who, just the man. This guy was the man. I mean, just so brilliant, his leadership, and he had a moral failure, and he's in disgrace right now. And I just was like watching this, it's like, how? How did this happen? And there was somebody from a handful of years ago, for some reason, as I was preparing this week, he just jumped into my mind as to someone that we're all pretty familiar with who kind of had a big fall from grace. And I was obsessed with this guy. It was Lance Armstrong. You know, Lance Armstrong, for a season there, you guys probably remember this. This guy was like the darling of America, was he not? I mean, Sportsman of the Year. He's like hosting the ESPYs. He's in movies. He won 7 Tour de France's in a row. He overcame cancer. He started raising millions of dollars with his Live Strong campaign. How many of those yellow bracelets, right, did you see? They were everywhere. I had them. Now you see rubber bracelets everywhere. I think it's because of the Live Strong campaign, right, that those bracelets even became popular in the first place. I had Live Strong Nikes. I thought Lance Armstrong was the man. And then sadly, news comes out that he cheated, that he used performance-enhancing drugs. And at first he denied it, but the evidence was overwhelming, and it caught up to him. And then he finally, about 5-6 years ago, he came clean with Oprah. If you're going to come clean, Oprah's the one you should do it with. Just, right? It's Oprah. So he comes clean. He has this interview with Oprah, and Oprah asked him a question. She said, who was that guy that would lie over and over and over again? And this is what he said. That is a guy who felt invincible. He was told he was invincible. He truly believed he was invincible. That's who that guy was. I will say this, one of the most dangerous things, maybe the highest distraction of the highest magnitude, is feeling invincible. Is when you start to believe that your success is about you. When you believe that you're above the rules, that nothing bad can happen, that you're impervious to failure. Look at this verse, 1 Corinthians 10:12. If you think you are standing strong, be careful not to fall. Maybe one of the themes that you see kind of sprinkled all throughout the scriptures is that pride is one of our greatest enemies and sins. And when pride comes in, what follows it? The fall, right? That before pride, you always see a fall because we believe we're invincible. And that pride, that success, that invincibility, it fosters entitlement. Well, I can do what I want. Who can tell me different? Who can tell me otherwise? And one thing I love, though, as you look at the narrative of Nehemiah and what we can learn from him is here's a man who has seen amazing success. He's an amazing leader. He's rallying the people. People are singing his praises, but he knows it's not about him. He knows it's all about his God. He knows it's not his wall, it's God's wall. He knows it's not his city, it's God's city. He knows it's not his people, it's God's people. And so the way you ward off this belief that success has made you invincible is by keeping your focus where it rightly belongs, on God. And he kept his focus on him, and this is the key to finishing strong. Verse 3, let's jump back into the narrative. So I replied, Nehemiah talking, by sending this message to them. I am engaged in a great work, so I can't come. Why should I stop working to come and meet with you? 4 times they sent the same message, and each time I gave the same reply. And so his enemies, they're just coming, right? They're very persistent. 4 times they keep coming to him, and they're like, hey, let's meet. No. Hey, let's get together for a latte. No. Let's talk about our differences. No. He just keeps telling them over and over, no. 4 times they come. On the 5th time, they're now so frustrated that he won't meet with them, that if you look at the rest of the narrative, and we won't have time to read through it all today, they start spreading rumors about him. They start spreading lies about him to become king. They're saying, oh, you're just trying to be king, so that they're trying to coerce him into a meeting, and he still says no. Then, and guys, you can't even make some of this stuff up. This turns into like days of the Middle Eastern lies, okay? Literally, they hire a false fake prophet to come and make some threats about what these guys are going to do and try to get him to hide in the temple. They're just pulling out all the stops to get him to stop working. They're trying to distract him with whatever they've got. They're just doing whatever they can to get him to stop. And he says over and over and over again, no, 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 I won't be distracted. I won't stop what I'm doing. And as a matter of fact, not only does he not stop working, but the Bible says in verse 9, Nehemiah 6:9, instead of slowing down, look at this. They were just trying to intimidate us, imagining that they could discourage us and stop the work. So I continued the work with even greater determination. He just started working harder. He doubled down on his work, right? He just started getting more and more focused. And I read this, and I'm like, who is this guy Nehemiah? The dude's a robot, right? He's an android. He just does everything right. He's like a laser-focused machine for God. It's super impressive. And what you see here is such a key element to staying focused, reducing the noise of the clutter, reducing the distractions. He has this key element that we all need to either have, and if we don't have it, we need to begin to cultivate it. And it's a very simple thing. It's discernment. He had discernment. In the same way, you need to have discernment as to when things come your way, you need to be able to know, is this a distraction or not? Is this an obstacle or an opportunity? Is this a genuine opportunity or something that's going to take me away from God's best? Is this something that's going to help me be the person I want to be, do the things God's called me to do, or is this something that's going to hurt me? And discernment is the key to knowing the difference between those two. Look at this verse in Proverbs 4. It says, keep your eyes straight ahead, right? Focus on God. Ignore all sideshow distractions. Watch your step, and the road will stretch out smooth before you. Look neither right nor left. Leave evil in the dust. I love that scripture. Focus on God. Keep your eyes on him, on his purpose. And as long as you're focused on God, not on the sideshow, not on all of these things that will come up in our society, all of these things that will clutter our life, all of these distractions that our enemy will try to bring our way, all the emotional distractions. No. Keep your eyes on him, focus on him, and then what happens? God will make the road in front of you straight. He will give you discernment. He will show you the right way. He will show you, is this an obstacle or an opportunity? He will help you know the difference. And the only way you get discernment, right? There's no book on it. There's no magic way to get it. The only way you truly get it is by spending focused time with God. You have to spend time with God. The more time you spend with God, the more you know his heart, the more you know his will, the more you know his word, the more you spend time with him, the more you will know if it's from him or not. The more you'll know. And so you get discernment by focusing on him, by spending time with him. And then when you know something's not from God, right? You do have that discernment, and the red flags are kind of going off inside of your heart. You're like, nope, stop. This isn't good. No bueno. I'm feeling it. right? Like something's happening, discernment, when you realize, okay, this is not an opportunity. This is a distraction. This is something that's going to pull me away, and you know it's not going to help you towards your calling. Then you have to do the same thing that Nehemiah did. And he had a skill. And it's not really a complex skill, but for some of us, we have a hard time with this skill. So when something comes that distracts you from God's work, here's what you do. You say no. You simply say no. Now, some of you are like, "Ooh, Greg, I don't know if I know how to do that." Let me teach you really quick. I'm going to help you. Pay attention. It's important, all right? Greg, would you like to meet for 15 minutes to talk about this wonderful business opportunity? No. That's it. Done. No is a complete sentence, right? No explanation needed. If something comes up and you don't want to do it, you simply say no. And here's why. You are a limited resource. You have limited time. You have limited energy, right? So the more you say yes to something that isn't on your core mission or your core purpose, then you're actually saying no to something else that's more important because you won't have the time or energy needed to focus on that. You see, if you try to do everything for everyone, then the ripple effect may be that you aren't helpful at anything for anyone. Let me say that again because it's good and you guys need to wake up. If you try to do everything for everyone, then the ripple effect may be that you aren't helpful at anything for anyone. And here's what's scary in today's society. There are so many things that will present themselves as good. It's good. It's a good thing. But they may steal great from you. They may be robbing you of something great because it's a distraction. It's good, but it's not great. It's not God's best. It's not going to help you be the best parent that you want to be, the best husband or wife you want to be, the best employee you want to be, the best friend you want to be, the best evangelist you want to be. It's not going to help you do those things. And so we've got to learn, right, how to say no so they don't steal great from us. And tragically, I will say this, in today's society, it is so easy to be great at stuff that just doesn't matter. To be great at stuff that's just kind of pointless. I love this leadership quote from Craig Groeschel. Your life is too valuable, your calling is too great, and your God is too awesome to waste your life on what doesn't matter. Man, that's so true. Your life is too valuable. Your calling, what God has for you, it's too great. And God, He's so good. And He's so awesome. Our God is so awesome. Don't waste your life. You get one shot at this. And so often we settle for good when we can have great. And where we do, or why we do this, is because we buy into the distractions. We let the distractions steal us away. And then we focus on things that don't matter. So let me shift gears here a little bit this morning. Let me talk a little bit practically as to how this pertains to our everyday lives. Because chances are you're not building a wall and you don't have enemies who are trying to have fake meetings with you, right? But we do have two, what I would say are modern distractions that are trying to steal great away from you. And if you don't use discernment, if you're not careful, these things have the ability to numb your life and take away God's best from you. And these are things that we got to learn to say no to. And the first one is this. We got to say no to busyness. Say no to busyness. Now, let me clarify a little bit. I would say to some degree, everybody's busy. Whether you're a student or an employee or looking for a job or anything in between, we're all busy to some degree. We all have things that will fill our time. All right? So busyness in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're busy on your core mission. If you're busy on your core relationships, if you're busy doing the things that God wants you to do, to some degree, that's good. But when busyness, when it loses its intentionality and it turns to hurry, and now all of a sudden you're just hurried all the time because your schedule is so chock full of stuff that you feel like you have to run from one thing to the next, hurriness will steal God's presence out of your very soul. It's almost virtually impossible to be happy and hurried at the same time. It just is. And you look at our life, right? We get up in the morning, you hit the snooze about 3-4 times, then you're in a panic. You got to get the kids to school. You run off to school, you drop them off, get out of the car, I got to get to Starbucks. You get over to Starbucks, got to get your caffeine intake, you got to fill up, right? So you're pounding your caffeine. Oh man, I'm going to be late for that meeting. Now you're running to the meeting. On the way, you've got to check 19 emails because you're behind on your email. You do those and you realize, oh man, I've got to go to the dry cleaner because I got to get that dress or I got to get that suit for that event this weekend. I don't even want to go to that event, but I got to look good for it, right? So you're about to go to the dry cleaner. Then you make a pivot, and then you got to go to a lunch meeting. Oh, wait, I double booked. I've got 2 lunch meetings. Oh, and then I got to cancel one of those lunch meetings because one of my kids is sick. So I got to run home and get my kids sick, but they have swim lessons. I better take them to swim lessons. No, I can't do swim lessons. They have gymnastics. Should we do gymnastics? So I said, no, it's soccer today. I forgot. Duh, soccer. All right? And then you run into that, and then you get home. You're like, hey, spouse, how are you doing? High five. Good luck. Go, right? And then you separate. One person's making dinner. The other one's doing bedtime, bath time. You put the kids to bed. You collapse in bed, and you're hurried. I'm worn out just from saying that. And that's some of your lives, right? No wonder there's no time or space for God. No wonder there's no space for relationships and connection that matters. And so here's where this all starts. It starts with being intentional. Things will fill your time. You got to be intentional about what fills your time. See, many of us just allow our time to be taken away instead of giving it away, right? We allow our time to be taken by less important things instead of strategically giving our time away. Your time, it's a fixed resource. So you have to get intentional about what you give it away to, which means it goes back to discernment. You have to use discernment as to what you say yes to and what you say no to. If you're only a limited amount of time, energy, and resources, then your yeses and your nos really matter. It comes back to, is this an opportunity? If I say yes to this, is this busyness a good thing? Is it going to help me be the person that God's called me to be, accomplish the mission that God's called me to accomplish, or is it going to be a distraction? Because there's always a ripple effect. There's always a ripple effect on your friends, your family, your calling, your purpose when you allow stuff to be added to your plate. And so when you say yes to that meeting at night, you don't even want to go. It's not even important. And you say yes because you're, I got to. You just said no to your family, right? When you say yes to Netflix at midnight, I'm bored. You're saying no to getting up early in the morning and maybe having a devotional time, right? Or getting to the gym or doing something with some purpose, intentionality where you're giving your time away. When you say yes to that sports league on Sunday morning, you're saying no to worshiping God. That weekly time that you need to refill with Him. And you say, well, it's only 4 weeks. Yeah, but then patterns get set in. Because just like anything else, church is a discipline, right? And so you say yes to that. You're saying no to something else. And you've got to evaluate, use discernment. Is this really the person I want to be? Is this the life I want to live? Is this just how it's supposed to be? Or am I going to choose to tell my time where it's going to go? And the reality is at this stage in my life, I've just realized I've got to say a lot more no's than I say yeses. I got to say no to a lot of things. These are good things. But I love golf. I do. I like to golf. I'm not very good at it, but I do enjoy it. I have to say no to golf at this season in my life more than I can say yes. Not because golf's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. I think it's great. But I know if I were to do 5-10 hours a week to golf, that's time that's probably either coming from my kids or something here at the church. And you guys and my kids deserve better from me. I have to say no to joining boards or these meeting opportunities or community things sometimes only because my core mission is my God, my family, my church. I got to stay focused. I can't get distracted. If I start giving different pieces of myself away, I won't have anything left to give you guys. And I'm not going to let God do that to me. I'm going to fight really, really hard to keep my focus where it matters. 1 Corinthians 7:35 says this. I am saying this for your benefit, not to place restrictions on you. I want you to do, this is Paul talking, I want you to do whatever will help you serve the Lord best with as few distractions as possible. So your goal should be to serve God to the best of your ability. And so run everything then through that filter. Is this going to help me serve God best? Is this going to help me do the things that God called me to do best? And then anything that's not, you should reduce or eliminate that from your life. Reduce and eliminate hurry. Reduce and eliminate anything that will take you away from Jesus and getting closer and closer to him, which leads to the second distraction in today's society. It's a big one. Say no to your phone. Say no to your phone. And some of you are like, Greg, right now, are you serious right now? I am. I'm very serious. I read something this week about our cell phones that really bothered me. And then you combine that with the fact that there are way too many times where my wife will say, put your phone away, pay attention. Or my kids will say, put your phone away, play with me. And it breaks my heart when I hear that because I'm showing them that a 5-inch digital screen is more important than them. But they say it way too many times that I realize I got a problem with my phone. It's confession. But you know what? I don't think I'm the only one. I think we all do to some degree, or many of us, maybe most of us. I read some stats this week that really bothered me on phone use. I'm just going to share them with you, and I hope that these bother you a little bit too. The average person spends 4 hours a day on their phone, 4 hours a day. That's average. Power users, 6-8 hours is not uncommon. 2 of those hours are on social media, 2 hours every day. We pick up our phone on average 80 times a day. We pick it up 80 times a day. That means if you take the data here and you just play it out, this year we will spend 61 days on our phones. We will spend 30 days on social media. You, this year, will give 1 month of your year to social media on your phone. Does that bother you? It bothers me. That freaks me out. That we are spending a month of our year. You get 80, I don't know, however many years you get on this planet, right? Our days are precious and numbered, and we'll spend a month scrolling. Do they like me? Living my life through them? Where did they go? I wish I could go there, right? Why didn't they like this? We'll spend a month doing that? No. If you follow God, we are better than that. We just are. And guys, I am guilty as charged. I'm embarrassed. I looked at my screen time. Don't do that. It's going to freak you out, right? I looked at my screen time and I was like, no, I can't believe I'm doing this, right? This is not good. And we're spending so much time living lives behind a digital screen, we're missing the life that's right in front of us. And then we look at our life and we're like, I'm not feeling fruitful in life. I don't know why I didn't get that promotion at work. My relationships are all struggling. My wife and I, we don't even communicate. We don't even get along. My kids ignore me. My kids don't even like me. Hello, but you're killing it at Candy Crush. Right? Look at this verse. Man, I think that this applies so much to today. Ephesians 5:15 through 17. So be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity in these evil days. Don't act thoughtlessly, but understand what the Lord wants you to do. And I'm just going to say, if we're living our lives behind our screen, I think it's safe to say that we're living life a little thoughtlessly, that we're not making the most of every opportunity. So here's my challenge, my pastoral challenge to me and you. This week, some of you are like, oh, you're already feeling it. Oh, you're like, I need my fix of my cell phone, right? Cut your screen time in half. So go look at your screen time. Try to cut it in half. It's going to hurt, by the way. I'm serious. It's hard. Cut it in half. At least cut your social media time in half and see how that doesn't open up maybe some other opportunities relationally or with your faith that you've been missing out on. Guys, let's not waste our life. Let's not get so distracted by things that are good. Cell phones are good. They are. It's good. It's an amazing piece of technology, but it could be stealing great. You get one shot at this sucker. You really do. I know that seems like hyperbole, right? Maybe a little melodramatic. Pastor's a little melodramatic, saying, no. You get one shot. When you die, there's a tombstone, right? You get a date and a date and a dash. That dash, that's all you get, the dash in between. You get one shot. Let's not waste our lives. Let's live it to the best of our ability. You got to stay focused on what God has called you to do. And when you stay focused, It's amazing, you with God, what you guys can do together to make an impact in this world. Look at this verse, Nehemiah 6:15 through 16. So on October 2nd, the wall was finished. Just 52 days after we had begun, when our enemies and the surrounding nations heard about it, they were frightened and humiliated. They realized this work had been done with the help of our God, something that could have taken years in just 52 days. And everyone looked at it, and it was clear that God was with them, that God helped them accomplish this crazy task that after 150 years no one had been able to do. And so in the same way, as you think about your life, we're in this series Blueprints, right? 4 weeks on doing a thing, making an impact, living with purpose. If you have something you want to do, what's it going to take? Right? What's it going to take? And I would say, to some degree, Nehemiah said something in verse 3 that needs to become our motto in life to some degree, as it helps us stay focused in living on mission for God and what God has for us. And this is what he said. He said, I am doing a great work. I can't stop. You want me to come meet with you? I can't. I just can't. I'm doing a great work. I can't stop. You see, the reason Nehemiah couldn't stop is he knew that the work was God's work. And he knew that he was the one called to do it. And he wasn't just doing it for himself. He was doing it for God and for others. And if you think about your life and you know that God doesn't just have good for you, he has great for you, it will help you stay focused. It will help you eliminate the distractions and go every step of the way closer and closer to him towards the goal or the purpose that God has for you. And so when the distractions come, and you got to use discernment as to what they are, and they will come, right? If the enemy can't destroy us, he will distract us. When the distractions come, you need to say, no, 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 no. I am doing a great work. I can't stop. I am doing a great work. I'm not going to pay attention to my fear. I'm doing a great work. I'm not going to listen to my doubts, right? I'm doing a great work. I'm not going to listen to my enemies. I'm doing a great work. I'm not going to listen to the critics. I'm not going to listen to all the haters. I'm doing a great work. I can't stop. I don't care what other people think. I don't care what other people say. I'm going to be the best dad, the best mom, the best teacher, the best coach, whatever it is that God's called you to be, I'm going to do it. I don't care if anyone else likes it. I'm doing a great work. I can't stop. I'm going to focus on my family. So what if I have to say no to these other meetings and people get mad at me? I don't care. I'm doing a great work. I can't stop. I'm going to keep honoring Christ with my life. I'm going to keep pursuing Christ with my life. I'm going to stay pure. I'm going to save myself for marriage. I'm not going to look at porn. Let people make fun of me. I'm doing a great work. I can't stop. I'm focused. I'm determined. I know where I'm headed. I know what God has for me. It's more. It's greater. I'm not going to settle for good. I'm not going to settle for less. I'm going to keep my eyes on the prize. I'm going to serve. I'm going to give. I'm going to be generous. Let people say it's a waste of my life. I don't care. I'm doing a great work. I can't stop because your life is too valuable. It just is. And your calling is too great. And your God, he's so awesome for you to waste your life. And think about Jesus for a second. Think how much he loves you in the midst of our sin, in the midst of our muck and our mire, how he comes and he lifts us out. He is the lifter of heads. And he says, I love you. You are my son and my daughter. Together we can do a thing. We can do something. We can make a difference. Believe. Believe in me and then believe in yourself. Come on, let's do this. And I would love it if everybody in this church felt so stirred and compelled by God to do something with their life. And so as we're going to wrap up this morning, we're going to sing a song. As we sing this song, let me just ask you a few questions just to reflect on. What is your purpose? What is it? What's the one thing that God's calling you to do that only you can do? What's distracting you right now? What's stopping you from doing that thing? Because here's the reality. No great work can be done unless you're willing to start. And so when are you going to start? When are you going to start doing the thing that God's called you to do? And push past the enemies, the fear, the doubt, whatever else that's going to try to stop you, and push towards him. And I promise God will empower you and help you, just like he did Nehemiah, to see it accomplished. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we give these next few moments to you, just stirring our hearts and our minds to really think about what is our purpose? What's our core mission? To live for you, to be amazing at what you've called us to do, and just stir us to really make that our heart's priorities. We know we have one shot at this thing. We have one dash, one life. Help us not waste it, Lord. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.